Today we're going to talk about leash walking. If you haven't seen my previous leash walking video, go check it out. We cover all the basics. Today I want to focus more on problems with leash walking. So your puppy's pulling on the leash, your puppy's biting at the leash, your puppy's jumping to try to get the food rewards that you're feeding them. Your puppy maybe doesn't want to go anywhere, so they lay down and you can't get them to move. So let's talk about that today. For more helpful tips and dog education, definitely subscribe to our channel. We keep it coming. A common thing we see with leash walking is that a young puppy especially wants to bite at the leash. So what do you do about it? You're out trying to take a little walk and they're playing tug-of-war with the leash. Number one, do not engage in the game of tug. Do not make this a power struggle. We want to make sure that we have a reward that our puppy's more interested in than the leash. So recognize this leash that's dangling down below their mouth is really exciting. Puppies follow movement. We call them movement magnets for a reason. And so that leash is really exciting. If I have a food reward in my hand that I can then lure my puppy into different positions with, maybe I can get them to spin in a circle or sit, then they're willing to work for that. As soon as they know I have that, they ignore the leash. We can now do some leash walking. If you're walking your puppy too long, so the session is dragging out, the puppy becomes bored, they're going to lose the motivation that you had with the food rewards. That's eventually going to wear out. They're going to go back to leash biting. So tip number two is make sure you keep that session short. We do a little leash walking, we stop and play, have a little recess. Do some more leash walking, we stop and play, do a little recess. And when I say recess, I mean pull out a tug toy. Pull out a little toy that you can throw and they can fetch. You can use a longer leash or a longer line for those kinds of things to get them to engage and have some energy or get some energy out, but we want them to be able to then go back and focus on the actual leash walking. If you have a dog that struggles with just getting the leash on or even the harness on, maybe they're biting at the harness or they're biting at the leash, definitely find a little food reward that they're motivated by, and then you're going to present the food as you attach the leash. So I like to scatter it on the ground. It takes them a few seconds to find all of the crumbs, and as they're gathering up all of the food crumbs, I can simply put the harness on or attach the leash, no biting involved. And then as soon as they're done picking up those food scatters, immediately get them interested in my next food reward in hand so that they're ignoring the harness or the leash that you just put on. It's important to start early with this with young puppies. Socialize them to the equipment you want them to be wearing. So if you plan on using a harness with your dog, which I think is a good idea, make sure they're wearing a harness at a young age so that they get used to wearing it. At first, it's just like putting a collar on. They're going to scratch at it maybe or be annoyed by it. But again, if you can redirect them with a toy, play a little bit while they're wearing this item, feed them food rewards that are of high value, they're going to forget that they're wearing it. They'll focus on you, not what they're wearing. So the next problem that we encounter when leash walking is pulling. I have one rule: never follow a pulling puppy. Dogs do what works for them. So if the dog pulls and I follow, the pulling works, the dog continues to pull. So as my dog's pulling to go sniff something, if I follow them over there, they're going to pull the next time to get to where they want to go. Make sure that if they pull, we can just simply stop moving. That's when the brakes go on. We change direction and go a different way. So when you see me out training a puppy on a leash, we are doing lots of circling, making figure eights. I'm changing direction often simply because I'm wanting that puppy to follow me, not whatever pathway's in front of them. And if they start to pull because they see something they want to go towards, I really can't let them get that. So I need them to stop, change direction, and realize, oh, if I want to get to that, I actually have to move with her, not against her. As we're leash walking and we're talking about food rewards, we're paying them for staying in what I call the kitchen area. That's just next to my leg. They can be a little ahead of me, a little behind me, but they're always getting those food rewards right next to my leg so that they're checking in often because that's where the good stuff happens. It's pretty common sometimes that our puppy will start to try to jump up to get that next food reward because they're anticipating food is coming. Make sure when you feed your puppy as you're leash walking that one, you're using a soft treat that's easy for them to chew. They're not having to stop and crunch it and then try to jump for the next one, but also feed it low enough that their head is looking down at the ground when they get that food reward. So instead of them looking up and you're feeding them high or they have to look up to get it, have them looking down at the ground to get their food reward. That will help prevent the jumping up to get the next treat. Another problem we see is a dog not motivated to even move. Maybe they lay down and don't want to go. It's important that we listen to these young pups. Number one, their exercise does not have to be a leash walk. I know there's this thing where you get a dog and we think, oh, I have to walk it. Well, walking, I relate it to calculus for kids, right? First, they have to learn what a number is, how to add it together, how to subtract the number, and then eventually they'll be ready for calculus. Leash walking is similar for a puppy. First, we have to teach them what is a leash. This is what it feels like when you wear it. This is how you follow me. This is how we walk. So it takes a long time to get a puppy to actually be able to walk around a block. I say that going back to this puppy who maybe doesn't want to move. We might be taking them on walks that are too long, or maybe they're fearful of things. Like they get out in the environment and they see something they're scared of, so they don't want to go. And they start to learn over time, I don't really like leash walking. It's stressful, it's hard, I'm not very good at it. And so they start to avoid it. So number one is figure out why your dog's doing this. What is the reason why they don't want to go? Is it fear? Is it the walks are too long? Is it that it's just too stressful for them? And then we can start to work on those issues. As a bonus tip, here are things I would never do when walking my dog on a leash. Number one, I don't do any leash corrections. I'm not popping or jerking on my dog. It's all very positive. I want the dog to like to be on a leash, and I use that leash simply as a connection between me and my dog. Think of it like an umbilical cord. It connects us, but I'm not using it in a forceful way. So I'm helping my dog follow me, and that leash is just simply keeping us connected. I would also never use the leash to force my dog to interact with something they're fearful of. So if you are out on a walk and your dog is scared of something, do not use that leash to drag them over and face their fear. We can do that in a much more positive way, using free shaping. If the dog looks at something, we can reward them and actually let them move away from it. So I would never use the leash to force my dog to engage with something they're afraid of. The other thing I'm careful of is the equipment I'm using. I start all of my young puppies off on just a basic flat collar or a harness, a body harness, and I clip that to the front of the harness, and then I just use a basic leash. Make sure you do your research on what type of equipment you're using with your dog, that it'll be beneficial to your dog, helpful to them, and get you the results you're looking for. If you're looking for more puppy training help, check out our website. We have an entire online puppy school for you. We teach classes from leash walking, barking, biting, jumping. We do all the basics. We have a basic training puppy kindergarten course all the way up through advanced. We have tricks that are fun. So check it out if you are looking for more help on training your dog.